Hello and welcome to my first YouTube video ever. I've recently been playing around with Unity. I've followed a lot of tutorials and finally thought it's time for my own small project. I've created a simulation of an ecosystem where the player defines the characteristics of the plants and the animals in the world. The goal is then to shape this world and the characteristics such that the creatures can live together in an ecosystem. Before I start with showing you how it exactly works, I want to give a disclaimer. This is a small project that I've been developing in my free time. As you probably noticed, I'm new to most of the involved aspects, especially graphics. However, I also have no background in video editing, video game creation, and many more. I have some background in math, but that's all I can offer here. As I'm uploading the video to YouTube, I'm prepared for some devastating critics. Anyway, I would prefer any advices you have for me. On my journey so far, I have been inspired by many tutorials, which I cannot mention here in detail. A special thanks, however, goes out to Catlike Coding, who has created great content about how to use Unity. If you check the link in the description below, you will also find a tutorial how to create a similar map as the one I used. And now, let's get to the game. What you see when you start a new game is an empty map with all grass tiles. The player can then create animals and plants. To do that, he will open a little menu that's pretty ugly in the moment with some values he can define. We will leave them as they are for now. Just click create and we can see that we have here now our little plant. This plant will grow over some time and finally reproduce itself and also act as a food source for the animals in the environment. You have just seen the plant increased and will now start to reproduce itself. You can see here two bars. The upper bar defines the age of the plant. When the age is full, the plant will die. And the lower part, you can see the reproduction value. When it hits the right side, a new plant will be born. That's randomly inside the radius of around the plant. So what we can see now is a second plant has been created. This is born here, and also this plant will start with both values at 0, which will grow over some times. The player can then also create a unit. This unit also has some values that the player can define. Also here we will leave them as they are for now. Just hit create and watch our little blue unit that doesn't look like an animal yet. This unit only has one value, it's its nutrition value. You just saw a little tick. As soon as it has eaten something from a plant, the nutrition will go up. And over time the nutrition will go down. When the nutrition has hit the right part of the bar, the animal will reproduce and create an offspring. In the moment, only one animal is needed to breed a second animal. However, this is one of many things that will come hopefully in a later update. But for the moment, there's only one sex of the animals and they can reproduce for themselves. So we will watch it for some more time. You can see it goes up and up for some time. In the meantime, some more explanations. The animal will look around itself for any possible food sources, select one of them randomly, and then it will walk there and eat the plant. When the plant has been eaten, we will just check which one it takes now. It also has an effect on the plant. As such, you can see here that the reproduction is quite full for the moment. When it was eaten, the reproduction will go down. I think at this moment it has reproduced itself, but when we watch this plant, the same will happen here. Therefore, the more plants there are, the more animals will be born. However, when many animals are born, they will eat more plants, therefore the plants will reproduce less and they will go down. And this means that less plants will eventually mean less food for less animals, while the numbers of the animals will go down. And the simple goal of this initial state is to keep the two values in balance, the number of animals and the number of plants. As you can see in the moment, the plants are still growing. And in some seconds we should also see that our animal will reproduce itself. There's a simple logic behind the animals. They follow a state machine. They always search for food around their current position. If they find at least one food source, they will walk there, eat it, and will then check if they have enough nutrition to breed. If they have, they will do so, create a second animal. If they do not have enough, they will just look for another food source in their radius. If there is no food around their current position, they will randomly walk to a specific position in another radius. These values can be defined. So you've probably just seen that the animal has reproduced, and now we have two little blue boxes that are walking around. When we look again at the creation menu of the animals, you see the speed of the animal. That's quite easy to understand. You could just define how fast is it. If we, for example, now create an animal with 200, it will run much faster than the others and will probably have a competitive advantage, and will therefore also, in the end, the others will probably die out, and only the fast animals will survive, as long as there is no other distinction between them. You see how much nutrition they need for breeding. You can set the start nutrition in the moment. One nutrition is needed per second, but of course this is also a possible enhancement, that the nutrition that goes down is defined, for example, by the speed of the animal. So you can say, okay, the faster the animal, the more nutrition it needs per second, and then you can see which is the perfect value, or you can even maybe introduce some breeding and selection process such that it randomly generates the speed around its current value, and then the nutrition is affected as well. And then the other two values is the search radius. So in this radius the animal will search for food, and the random walk radius is just the radius where the animal will search for a position to walk to if there is no food in its current search radius. If we look at the plant menu, we see the maximum age. It's currently in seconds. How old can a plant be? We see how long it takes until a small plant becomes grown. We see how long it then takes to reproduce for the plants, how long it takes for the food to grow. We see in which radius the plant will reproduce itself, and we will see we can set how much nutrition is one plant giving to the animals. Just to demonstrate, if we create here a little plant with a maximum age of 100, but we make it fast growing and also fast reproducing, but only set the reproduction radius to 2, we will then see that it will soon spawn a lot of plants up here. So it's now grown, it will start to reproduce. Where it reproduces is randomly chosen in the radius, so sometimes it will try to reproduce where no reproduction is possible. Therefore, it does not always work. And also, if the field is already occupied by a plant, it will also not reproduce. But we already see that here are two more plants, and they will now also start to reproduce. And yeah, eventually we'll have a lot of plants in the upper left corner. And down here we see that the animals have been too fit and too adapted to the world, so they will eat all the plants. And if we would have not introduced these fast reproducing plants, all of them would have been eaten, and finally the animals would also die out. So this is already a small interesting task to find the values for this little simulation. How can I set both the plant and the animal characteristics such that both creatures can live next by each other? What you see here is the result of different experiments that I did. It took me quite a while to find the statistics for both the animals and the plants, such they can live next to each other and are somehow reasonable. You can see in the bottom left the number of animals and the number of plants over time. In the beginning I only had some plants, which then grew exponentially. They did not cover the whole world. However, the reasons behind it are a bit too much for the first video. Let me know if you want to know more about it and also some math behind it. Then you can see that after some time I've introduced the animals. When they grew, the plants reduced at the same time until they hit somehow the threshold. Then the animals didn't grow anymore, but the plants also didn't decline anymore. And since they somehow live next to each other in a steady state, sometimes the animals are increasing, sometimes the number of plants are increasing. However, that's somehow due to the randomness in the world. That's it for now. I have a lot of plans how to go on with this little project. Of course, better graphics, better UIs, some models for the animals and for the plants. Also introducing different animals and different plants at the same time. Maybe introducing biomes. Definitely I want to introduce some predators next, so that also the animals can be eaten. And then the longer it goes on, the more possible features can be thought of. Yeah, I'm curious where the journey will bring me. If you want to know more, please hit the like button below. I'm grateful for all the support you can give me and also for any suggestions you have how I should continue with my little project. Thank you and see you soon.